Hello everyone, my name is Amani Bhatti, and this is Decline and Renewal, the role of public space, social cohesion, and urban vitality in the livability of cities. So, my work first asks three questions. How do public space policies and design reveal and reinforce systemic inequalities that further decline and separation? How do quality and accessibility of public space shape urban livability? And which design-based interventions have reversed socio-spatial decline in post-industrial or stigmatized towns? So I define three interlocking realms of public space. First is the physical public space, which is the hardware of the place. Next is urban vitality, the software and quality of a space. And then social cohesion, how safe and welcome the space is. Each of these move towards revitalization or decline. I did a literature review, which focused on comparative case studies and on-the-ground observation in Calgary, which was walking through plazas and LRT nodes and how to read the design and management use here. Now, Calgary from afar rates as growth. There's cranes, suburbs, and stable economy. But when you zoom in, you'll see that the core thins out. There's off-peak vacancies, and there's a lot of decay within the public space. Activity is migrating to malls and arterial strips. We're losing activity to the suburbs. So let's look at our problems. First is policy-led decay. It's car-first standards and surplus road width. Things like gentrification by design, which is pricing out people. And next, stigmatization, rules about who belongs in public space. Antisocial behavior loops, which are ways that low upkeep make lower use. And lastly, overmanagement in design, which is the policing and commercialization of public space. So I chose three comparative cases that mirror Calgary's risk and option. First is Medellin, a case of revitalized fragmentation. Public space first mobility was employed here to revitalize the stigmatized spaces of the city. Next is Detroit, a case of fragile recovery with a lot of downtown vacancies and suburban sprawl, and how they're reinventing areas of the downtown. And lastly, Middlesbrough, current stasis due to long retail vacancies, stigma in public space, and sprawl siphoning life from the core. So the three operating systems that I thus looked at were first, transit-oriented development in Portland. These are station areas that fund sidewalks, plazas, and mixed-use edges. The finger plan in Copenhagen, which is continuous green and transit fingers feeding the core, protected public space along the way. And lastly, superblocks in Barcelona, which are calm internal grids, short crossings, microplazas, and storefront activation. These are operating systems that make public life convenient, safe, and worth doing. So now let's read Calgary's streets, seats, and stations. If you look here, you can see Stephen Avenue in East Village. It's basically places that have been commercialized. The way that the public space is sorted is subtly telling who belongs in these places by ways of policing the general area. Next, let's look at the benches under towers, which are windy, shaded, facing blank facades, and sometimes hostile. The message isn't stay, it's move along. Then LRT nodes, which are only to funnel transportation. They're not places to stay, and risk is felt even when crime isn't happening. So let's look at our solutions again to create ways that this can be employed in Calgary. First, our spatial separation and stigma can be a way of revitalizing through transit-oriented development, so connecting isolated districts to jobs and create active station edges. Next, downtown stasis and vacancies can be combated with superblocks, a way of post-industrial reinvention, which is rebalancing from a thorough presence. Pedestrian should be the priority. And lastly, combating institutional stasis with the finger plan. Stitch stormwater corridors in suburban areas and make utility rights of way. Let's bring suburbans back to the core. So, let's look at the public realm for Calgary then. For transit-oriented development in Calgary, it's currently very capital prioritized. So applying a way to make it more public space incentivized would be using 5 Ds: density, diversity, design, destination accessibility, and distance to transit. This would create more pedestrianized areas rather than being surrounded by high-rises. Next, let's see how we can do finger plan and suburban cores. Build on the existing assets in suburbs rather than redeveloping the whole city. Connect the suburbs more, and then connect them to downtown more through transit areas. And lastly, the superblock pilots in downtown. Where vacancies in low street energy cluster, let's make them superblocks. Let's make already pedestrianized areas more pedestrian. Remove the traffic from the area and reroute it around. This deployment will be hard, but there's 3 guardrails. There's anti-displacement, which will be inclusionary tools and street vending frameworks, co-stewardship, which would be community ambassadors, treating resistance as data and iterating, and lastly, metrics to track safety, dwell times, and mix. We'll only scale what provides value. Overall, Calgary has a problem with its public space, but the prescription to heal this is clear. We need more public realm TOD, green fingers, and superblocks pilots. The streets set the rhythm, so we need to design a tempo for the people. Our stations are our public rooms, so let's make these places inviting to stay. And let's measure what we manage, presence and not just throughput. Because after all, if a city's streets look interesting, the city looks interesting. If they look dull, the city looks dull. So let's choose to be interesting and inclusive.